Kia ora and welcome to a new video from NZ Pocket Guide. Today, I'm going to share with you the best tips to find a job in New Zealand for working holiday makers and students. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so to begin with, it's quite important to know the picking season in New Zealand. This is a very important job for working holiday makers, as if your level of English is not great, it is a simple job to get. So for example, the Bay of Plenty is the best region to go do kiwi fruit picking from April to August. So knowing all that is quite important when trying to look for jobs and planning your trip around New Zealand. Head to nzpocketguide.com for a full breakdown of all the picking seasons in New Zealand. The next thing that you need to know is that your CV from back home is probably looking very different than what a New Zealand CV usually looks like. So it is important for you to not only translate your CV into English, but also make sure that the design of it is actually fitting the New Zealand job market. This will help you land an interview much easier rather than having a CV that looks completely different than all the other one that an employer will receive and therefore maybe being passed on. Next up on our list, we have recruitment agencies. Recruitment agencies are a pretty big thing in New Zealand. They place a lot of working holiday makers as well as students into jobs. So making the use of recruitment agency can be a really good tool when looking for a job in New Zealand. Make sure that you contact some of them which are specializing in your area of expertise. Next up on our list, we have being open-minded. A lot of people coming to New Zealand on a working holiday visa are thinking that they are going to be sticking to this type of jobs that they've done back home. I think that a working holiday visa is a great way to experience different type of job and a different lifestyle. So don't close your mind into just doing one type of job and try different things. You know, going for the jobs which are currently hiring is the best way to get a job after all. The next tip that I have is to start your job search when you are in New Zealand. Having a local New Zealand phone numbers, having a local bank account, having an IRD number, which is a New Zealand tax number, is quite important and will make you much more hireable. Because, well, the employer knows that he can literally just get you to get started the day after. And that's really much how New Zealand usually view the job market. Can I get you to start as soon as possible? So looking for a job prior to coming to New Zealand is not necessarily the best thing to do. Next up on our list, we have not being scared of face-to-face meetings. New Zealand is kind of a face-to-face nation. We are a little bit old school in that way. So when looking for a job in New Zealand, you may need to actually walk into shops or into restaurants and ask if they're currently hiring and if you can drop in your CV. Our next generation honestly is only applying for jobs online, but it's really not how the New Zealanders are usually looking for jobs. So make sure that you are okay with face-to-face, especially when looking for jobs in areas that will require extensive face-to-face, such as hospitality, tourism or retail. Face-to-face is the way to go. And finally, the last tip that I have for you is to use the working hostels. There are many amazing working hostels around New Zealand that will, on top of the accommodation, offer you job placements. In that way, you'll be able to literally hang out with your coworkers, commute with your coworkers and carpool to the next job. It's really easy, and on top of that, well, you just don't have to look for a job. You just have to ask for your accommodation provider to place you with one of their collaborator employers, let's say. I don't really know the name of those kind of people, but yeah. So yeah. If I have to recommend one working hostel, that would be the Pacific Coast Lodge in Tauranga. It is a great working hostel, which I know personally and I really like. Alright, so that's all my tips. There is much more for you on nzpocketguide.com, so check it out. And the whole team is joining me in wishing you the best time ever in New Zealand.